All right, ninjas, we're talking about belts. We're talking about the attainment of belts and what that represents in jiu-jitsu and why not it's important, right? So when you first start jiu-jitsu, you're probably not even thinking about belts. You're a white belt, you get started, you're like, oh, they gave me a white belt. What's next? Well, blue belt's next. And you might start really thinking about that and start pursuing the stripes and start working towards getting that belt. But think of these belts as rungs on a ladder. But our ladder only has 4 rungs on it. Well, what's the purpose of a ladder? Is it to lean against a building and to just stand there? Is it for you to climb up one rung and just hang out on the wall? Like, yeah, I'm using the ladder right now. I just like standing on ladders. Or is the purpose of the ladder to get you to the top? Is the purpose of the ladder to get you somewhere that you probably couldn't get to without the ladder? Okay? So you begin pursuing that blue belt. And a lot of people, the joke in jiu-jitsu is that a lot of people quit after getting a blue belt. So why is that the case? Why would somebody work so hard for 2 or 3 years, earn a blue belt, start, train maybe a little bit longer, another year or two, and then quit? And I think a lot of times is people look at the blue belt as being an ending point, which it's not. The purpose, again, is to get us to here. But the purpose really isn't to get us the belt, right? Think of the belts as representing the pursuit of knowledge, right? The pursuit of knowledge. So as you get better and begin to master the knowledge, you move forward and all the way up eventually to black belt, which represents a pretty high level of mastery in the martial arts. And I was one of those people that was actually stuck here for 13 years. So my gap between these two was quite vast. So I know what it's like to get stuck at a belt. So if you've been stuck at a belt for for some crazy amount of time, or, maybe you're a blue belt, you've been there for 6, 7, 8 years. That's kind of a long time to be a blue belt. You should be a purple belt now. You need to start asking yourself, why am I not a purple belt? And better yet, maybe talk to your professor, what should I be doing so that I can get to the next stage in my training? Because it's not about the belts. It's not about the belts. Again, it's about that pursuit of knowledge and that mastery of knowledge, which ultimately is going to change you as a person. And here's the funny part for me. I was a brown belt for 13 years, right? And I was training that whole time. That's always the first question people ask me is, were you training that whole time? Yeah, I was training. I moved a bunch and a bunch of other things happened, but I was a brown belt for 13 years and training that entire time. But I feel like I got my black belt in 2014, right? It's 2021, 7 years later. I've learned so much more and become a better martial artist in the last 7 years than I did from the point I was a brown belt to a black belt in that 13 years. So, getting stuck there can sometimes mean that you're not really truly progressing, at least not at the point that you need to be or want to be. So if you're one of those people where you're like, well, I don't give a shit about the belts, I really don't care if I ever get promoted, are you really saying that you don't care about progressing? Because that might be what you're saying. So it's important to look at what you're doing with your training and see kind of where you are, and are you really progressing and getting better and moving forward? And it's okay to pursue these belts because they actually do mean something. Getting a black belt in BJJ means something. There's a lot of different levels of black belts. There's high, competition level black belts. There's amazing teachers at black belt. There's all different levels of black belt. There's hobbyists at black belt. But all of those people, I guarantee, are pretty damn good at jiu-jitsu, okay? So you definitely want to get to that black belt. It's worth it. I hope that helps somebody, hosts.